All right, so it's Saturday, May the 6th, and it's about 5:30 p.m. We're getting ready to go play some No Limit Texas Hold'em at Resorts World. Feel like putting in the hours at the poker table, and I decided that tonight, would be a good day to do a vlog. So, welcome to episode number two of the poker vlog at Resorts World, Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's do this. So we made it to Resorts World. The plan is to get on the list for 1-3 No Limit Hold'em, and then to get some food. So that's what we're doing. Getting on the list, getting some food. All right, the first hand we get involved in, we look at Ace-5 of diamonds on the button, folds around to us, and we go ahead and raise it up to $10. Trying to steal the blinds here, but unfortunately the small blind has a short stack. She decides this is a good spot to go ahead and get it all in. I think for a bit here, she could certainly have some hands we are behind, but she can also have some suited Broadway holdings here. And for $46 total, $36 additional dollars to us, I think it's a call. We go ahead and think about it. We put in the additional $36, make the call. The board runs out, all low cards. We end up pairing our 5, and we take down this $92 pot when the big blind turns over Ace-10 offsuit. And she unfortunately was very disgusted with us and ends up leaving the table. All right, we are under the gun +1. Look down at Ace-Queen offsuit. Price of poker is going up to $12. We get a call from the player to our immediate left who's V-pipping about 80% of hands. Get a call from the 5 seat for $12 and a call from the 6 seat. We are going 4 ways to a flop here. The flop comes down Ace-9-3 rainbow. Ace-9-3 rainbow. Checks around to me. I go ahead and put in a continuation bet here of $40. I want to charge any players with a worse ace, any players that want to call with a 9, and potentially some pocket pairs like pocket 8s or pocket 7s that are getting a little sticky. The 6 seat goes ahead and makes the call. Other 2 players fold. We are going heads up to a turn, and the turn is an ace. So we end up with trips on this board. The 6 seat goes ahead and checks to us. We're putting in a bet. Hopefully our opponent has an ace and is wanting to play for it all. We make a bet of $75. And the player taps his hand on the table a few times and folds face up. He had the 9-3 offsuit for a flop 2 pair. Just goes to show you how wide players are calling in these games. All right, so we look down at Ace-9 of spades in the cutoff here. We have a limper in middle position 1. I raise it up to $10. We get a call from the button. We get a call from the small blind. The big blind goes ahead and lays his cards down, and our limper in middle position puts in the call. So we are going 4 ways to the flop here. The flop comes down, all low cards, 6 deuce 4 on the board. Checks around on this flop. No action here. I decide not to continuation bet multi-way. and we see a queen of clubs peel off on the turn. I decide to make a wager here. I think the queen is better for our range, being the pre-flop raiser. We could certainly have quite a few queens in our range, and we get 2 callers going to the river. The small blind goes ahead and puts in the $20 call, and our friend in the middle position puts in the $20 call as well. So 3 ways to the river, which is the King of Hearts. The King of Hearts. I think these players have some pocket pairs in their hands that are being stubborn. I think they can have some Broadway combos that are not happy to see this king on the river as well. We put in a wager and both players fold very quickly here, and we take down this pot. Okay, we are under the gun +1, and we look down at the best starting hand in No Limit Hold'em, pocket aces. Under the gun makes it 11. We 3-bet it up to 35, trying to isolate this under the gun player. Unfortunately, that is not what happens. The middle position player in the 5 seat decides to cold call our 3-bet after the 2 players in front of him fold. A little bit odd here. I would expect him to be doing this with some pocket pairs, set mining, maybe some suited Broadway hands. And the under the gun player gets out of the way, so we're going heads up to a flop of Queen 6 deuce rainbow. I go ahead and wager a c-bet here, hoping that my opponent has those suited Broadway type hands. I put in $45, really looking to charge any hand with a queen. The player thinks about it for a little bit, kind of stacks out his chips and counts it out to determine whether or not he wants to make this call and put in the money. And unfortunately for us, after some deliberation, he goes ahead and lets his cards go, but we take down this pot. All right, we look down at King Queen offsuit in the big blind. Under the gun player limps, middle position player raises to $12. Small blind goes ahead and calls the $12 bet. I decided to call here as well. I think we could be 3-betting a vast majority of the time, but as played, under the gun calls, and we're going 4 ways to a flop of Queen 10-3 with 2 clubs. Small blind checks, I check, under the gun checks. The middle position player does not check. He puts out a continuation bet of $20. I don't see much merit in raising here. I think we just fold out all of his bluffs, and we have top pair second kicker. So we go ahead and make the call. I feel pretty confident we have the best hand a majority of the time here. Turn is the 6 of spades. Flush draw has not come in. I check. Middle position player puts out another bet of $30. I think for the same reasons on the flop, calling is the best course of action here. I go ahead and put in the $30 call, and we get the 4 of diamonds on the river. I check to the aggressor. He decides that this is a good time to put in the 3 barrel and puts in a bet of $45 on this river card. I'm a non-believer. I think he's full of it. I go ahead and put in the $45 call on the river. If he's got me beat, he's going to have to show me. He immediately says, good call. I turn over our top pair second kicker, and he shows ace-6 of spades. All right, we look down at pocket threes in the big blind. The under the gun player decides to limp, and then we get a limper in middle position in the 6th seat. The button decides to go ahead and put in a limp as well, and the small blind completes. We go ahead and check our option, going 5 ways to this flop, which comes down 7-5-7 with 2 clubs. The action checks around on the flop, and we get a beautiful 3 of spades on the turn, giving us a full house. I go ahead and put in a $10 bet here. I think we can get called by a lot of hands that contain a 7, such as Ace-7, King-7, 8-7, 7-6. You get the idea. The button puts in the $10 call, and everyone else goes ahead and folds. We go to a river heads up, which is a queen of clubs, hoping that my opponent caught a flush or has that 7 in his hand. I go ahead and put in a wager of $15, really hoping for a raise on this river. Call is fine though too. He does go ahead and make the call. We turn over our boat and we take down this pot. All right, we look down at King, Queen of Spades in the big blind. Get a limper from under the gun. Middle position player makes it $15, and the button calls the $15 raise. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet in this spot. We are out of position, so I'm going to make it a little bit larger than usual. $45 is the new price to see a flop. And the middle position player thinks for a minute and decides to put in the additional $30 to see a flop, and this brings in the button as well. So we are going 3 ways to a flop here, which comes down pretty good for us. We see King 8-6 rainbow. Decide to put in a continuation bet here. Going to charge these players if they have a straight draw of some kind or a weaker king holding, making it $60 to go on the flop. Both players unfortunately decide that this is not a good spot for them, and they both let their cards go, but we take down this pot. All right, we look down at 2 red 10s on the button, and it folds around to us. We raise it up to $12, and a brand new player who just sat down a couple of hands prior to this 3-bets us to $40 in the big blind. We have the 5th best starting hand in No Limit Texas Hold'em. We're not folding here. We're not a nit. We're going to put in that call, and we're going to see a flop. Flop comes down king, king, deuce. The big blind doesn't take too long here and puts in a down bet to $20 on this flop. As played, I think our hand is under-repped. I think she could have missed some of this board. I put in the $20 call. We're going to a turn, which is the jack of clubs. She decides then that she wants to bump up the price of poker. She makes a much larger bet of $70 on this turn. We think it over for a bit and decide to fold our hand here. All right, under the gun, we pick up the ducks, pocket deuces. We go ahead and limp in here in early position. Under the gun +1 decides to bump things up to $13. Middle position player calls, folds around to us. We go ahead and put in the additional $10, and we go to a flop of deuce, 7, queen, rainbow. Checks around on the flop, and the 8 of diamonds peels off on the turn. Backdoor flush draw comes in, and the 8 is a more connected card, so I decided this is a good card to start building a pot and charge some draws. Bet out $15 and get called by both players. And the jack of diamonds peels off on the river. I decide we can get some value from worse 2-pair holdings here, even though straight draws and flush draws did come in on this river. The under the gun player folds pretty quickly. The middle position player decides that this is a good time to put in a raise. They make it $145 to go, so another $100 to me. I let my hand go pretty quickly here. I feel like in these river spots, players are never bluffing. Could be overvaluing a worse 2-pair holding. Unfortunately, we'll never know. They fold their cards face down, and we lose this pot. All right, last hand of the night, we have ace queen. We have a limper in front of us. We're in the low jack. We make it $12 to go, and the limper is the only player that comes along and calls the $12. We go to a flop of queen 10 deuce with 2 clubs. The under the gun player checks to us, and we go ahead and decide to fire a continuation bet here of $15 with our top pair, top kicker. They quickly call the $15 bet, and we are off to a turn card, which is a blank 6. Flush draw does not come in. Nothing really changes on this card. Under the gun player checks to me. I decided to get a little tricky here and check it back. I think we might be able to induce a bet on the river from a 10 or a weaker holding. And indeed, they do put out a bet of $45. We snap call. They say we have a 10. I turn over my top pair, and we win this pot to finish the night. Okay, so we just got home. It is about 12:30 in the morning, Sunday morning. We finished up the session right around midnight. It was a pretty good game right up until the end. I'd say the last half hour or so got really, really tight. And there's a lot of people that sat down at the table that were just not very action-based players. Let's just put it that way. But overall, it was a good game. I felt like we played pretty well for a majority of the night. Got a little tired towards the end. Might have made a few mistakes. But for the most part, I feel like we played pretty well. And we were in the game for 400 and out for 605. That is a profit of $205 if my maths are correct. So we book a win for episode number 2. If you like the vlog, please give me a like. Please leave comments. I will get back to you, I promise. And hit that notification button. Subscribe, hit the notification button. Tell your friends about the vlog, the whole 9 yards. Would love to see all of their smiling faces here, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.